Gasp! What's that? One more time, Jules. With feeling. Gasp! Hello all of you beautiful people, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Tues Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval themed format where I, the crown Jules of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you, yes, you the person who's wearing a hat indoors again, because the fact is that I thought that I plugged in my shaver to trim this nasty bush that I've got on my face and try and get rid of the hair follicles that I have remaining, and decided that instead I'd plug in my toothbrush. So yeah, got teeth nice and clean, hair not feeling so green. Supergrass, I believe that was. Might have just changed the lyrics. Anyway, yes, you get to decide what list I dole out to you each and every week. And this week we are going to be talking about video games where everybody loses, which does seem to be a bit against the grain, as it were, because you're always playing video games to win. So to find out that basically you've made everything worse or end the game thinking that there's a happy ending, but a real downer one is coming round the corner, well, it can be a bit deflating to say the least. That's not to say that these types of endings were hated or chastised, but it's safe to say that few saw the grim and bleak closing moments of these titles coming and often left players spiraling in an existential crisis of their own. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video games where everybody loses. And you know the drill by now. Say hi to me here in the live chat and put your suggestions for next week's episode down in the comments section below. But with that in mind, let's get on with this list, shall we? Number 8. Black. Gasp! What's that? I hear you cry. You're putting a first-person shooter on a list about downer endings and you're not including Spec Ops: The Line? What is this madness? Well, my friends, believe it or not, we have played more than... 5 games, 6 games we played, and the 6th one is Black, so let's talk about it. Told by protagonist Jack Keller in a military interrogation immediately after the events of the game, Black unfolds in a series of missions as Black Ops soldier Keller and his team chase the Seventh Wave terrorist organization. After the discovery that the former CIA operative William Lennox... James, just reading that aloud makes me realise it's not hard to write a good character name for a video game protagonist or NPC or villain or whatever. Why the hell are so many video game characters just given terrible names? Like, what would you give as a name if you were a video game hero?
Easy choice, Jules. I'd call him Egg.
Yeah, I knew asking you would be a bad decision. I'd be Vivius Lestrange. See, it's not that hard. Not that hard. Off the top of my head, that was. It wasn't really. I've got a book literally just filled with character names for D&D purposes. Sad, I know. Anyway, Keller defies orders to chase down this turncoat and put a stop to him once and for all. Cornering the villain in a disused gulag, Keller triggers an explosion that buries the last of the Seventh Wave and secures victory for the beleaguered operatives. Hey, we won, guys, we won! As we catch up to the present day, however, Keller's status as definitive winner is stripped from him, as it turns out the authorities had known about Lennox all along, using Keller as a pawn to weed him out. Worse still is the news that Lennox has survived the explosion. Looks like he's been taking lessons from Wild Dog from Time Crisis here. And the new plan would be to fake Keller's death and throw him in at the deep end all over again. No more Seventh Wave, Keller's under the thumb. Suddenly, at the end of Black, things are looking a little bit more like this. Take some of that. Take some of that. Number 7. Warhammer 40k Space Marine. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. God, I love 40k. God, I love Warhammer in general. I mean, have you seen all the models that I've constantly got on that table behind me? Hook it to my veins! Anyway, the Warhammer 40k universe lives up to this pseudo-motto with rather a sizable degree of commitment, as whatever faction you choose to align yourself with, there's going to be a fair amount of lore giving you a glimpse as to how miserable a world the future has become. And taking no exception in the realm of video games, Space Marine sees you playing as Captain Titus of the aforementioned beefed-up super soldiers tasked with reclaiming a forge world from invading orcs, all the while securing military supply lines for the authoritarian Imperium. Now what follows is a beautiful cocktail of orcs getting blended by your chainsaw, power fist and thunder hammer as you jetpack around shooting their cockney faces for leather like, alright there, goofner, bam, 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 I'm actually a fungus, not a man, so this isn't a huge amount of manslaughter, it's fungus slaughter, the 40k universe is rather weird, and then you've got Chaos Demons as well coming out, being like, alright mate, how's it going? Fancy a scrap, do you mate? fuzzy little scrap deer, and his cars are so, well, you can't actually kill me because technically I'm a demon, so I'm just going back to the back of the queue in the warp, and I'll be back again. Hey, see you in a bit. Put dramatic reenactment under that, because that's the entire game. Titus barely escapes from this conflict with his life. Now, any other shooter would have called it a day there, but true to form, Titus is instead sold out by his comrade and tried for heresy, his unexpected resistance to the evil chaos energy raising suspicions that he may have become corrupted to serve the Dark Lords. So the Forge World is back under Imperium control. Whee! But you are, like I say, being tried for heresy, and if you've read even a tiny bit of the 40k lore, that's not a good thing. People don't tend to come back from something like that, and if they do, they're usually as mindless robots. Sick! Number 6, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Here we are, the game that in the Legend of Zelda universe started it all. The Legend of Zelda's most mildly received 3D outing has an ending which on the surface is a very clear victory over evil. However, when you pull your lens of truth back and take a look at the wider timeline, the cracks in this rosy finale start to appear. And it's all because of the fact that this game is, according to all of the legends and sources, set at the very beginning of the timeline. And that is why it becomes problematic, because everything after that, all of the evil that arises from it, has to stem from somewhere. So your victory over evil is very temporary, to say the least. Because having saved Zelda and forging the Master Sword, Link faces the Demon King in a one-on-one showdown, ultimately emerging victorious. But being the Demon King, however, we see that in his dying breath, Demise declares that an incarnation of his hatred shall forever follow them, dooming them to wander a blood-soaked sea of darkness for all of time. Now, who do we know in the Zelda universe that could be counted as being evil incarnate and who appears time and time again? I'm pretty stumped, James. Do you have any answers here?
Tingle.
Even I know that's wrong. Of course it's Ganon. Of course it's Ganon, the big hamhead. Number 5, Nier Automata, Potato Patata. So riddle me this one, Batman. If your game has 26 different endings, how is not one of them actually considered to be the winning ending? Yoko Taro, you've done it again. Following Taro's decision to make Drakengard's most bonkers ending its canonical one, Nier and its subtitled sequel tell the story of a world plagued by disease, doomed by sentient androids, and then invaded by aliens. There's a lot more going on here, but it would take another list to explain what the hell the timeline is here, so just take my word for it. It's a simplified version, but that's where we are. And here in Nier Automata, Potato Patata, we follow androids 2B, 9S, and A2 as they continue this seemingly endless proxy war with the machine army brought to Earth by the aforementioned aliens. Following several false endings, it's revealed that humanity and the aliens have actually long since perished, and that the war is doomed to repeat eternally. The canonical ending of the game, not the one where you die by eating a fish, has the machine intelligence launching an arc of its memories into space, hoping to find a home, whilst the deceased remnants of the trio are reconstructed by their support droids. And then just when you think you've got an ending here, Nier Automata, Potato Patata, decides to smash the fourth wall entirely and asks you to delete your save game data in order to help out another player who's struggling with the final boss, which happens to be the credits. It is a mad game, and I love it. It is a brilliant bit of meta-narrative philosophy, but as your brain turns to soup looking back at the restarted title screen, you've got to wonder if a winner of this war was ever really possible. Number 4, The Seventh Saga. Ooh, baby! Getting to talk about the Seventh Saga today. Ah, Christ, this plotline. Here, I'm reading it out. It makes no sense to read out. It made less sense to play it. Bear with me, guys. So, this title was pretty groundbreaking for its time. Square Enix's The Seventh Saga contained an appropriate 7 different character storylines intertwining across a grand quest to gather 7 runes and prevent the resurrection of the evil entity Gorsia. Set on this quest by the 100-year-old Lamel, in a mid-game twist it's revealed that Gorsia had killed Lamel and had been masquerading as him all along. Yes. But having foreseen his death, Gorsia travelled from 5,000 years in the past to reclaim his lost power from the runes and rule supreme. Yes. With all 7 runes in his possession, Gorsia regains his lost power and zaps the player back to his time. So far it kind of all makes sense, right? Well, hold on to your hats, as it's about to get wild. Because here, Gorsia decides to finish what he started and travel back to confront the player in his own time. Why? This unsurprisingly turns out to be a stupid idea, as the player now has access to the undestroyed 7 runes. Sure enough, Gauzia is then defeated, but manages to strike one last fatal blow on the player in his death throes. 4,900 years later, the player is resurrected and given a new name, and that name is Lamel. What? Why? What? You died 4,900 years in the past and get resurrected as the man who gets killed, who couldn't stop Gauzia, but then as another party travel back in time to kill Gauzia, but you become that man. Yes, that's right. In the last twist of a basically spiralized story, it turns out that the whole thing is one massive time loop, with the player and Gauzia doomed to repeat this cycle of death and resurrection for all of eternity. Wonderful. Number 3, Dead Space. God damn it, James. Why can't Isaac Clarke have nice things, eh? Don't even answer. I'm too angry. Arriving on the USG Ishimura to find his girlfriend Nicole, Isaac is instead greeted with hordes of horrifying monsters known as the Necromorphs, former humans driven mad and mutated into inhuman abominations, turning the adrift mining ship into a setting that makes Event Horizon look like the bloody magic school bus. As Isaac travels through the Ishimura, trying to find a way out and uncovering the truth of the situation with help from Nicole, he discovers the Red Marker, an alien artifact transmitting the signal that drove the crew insane before mutating them into necromorphs. Realizing that the marker has to be destroyed, Isaac returns it to its original burial site, defeating the colossal hive mind final boss and putting an end to the infection. Way! We've done it, boys! We pushed back the alien menace and saved everyone, except for the crew of the Ishimura. They're pretty to begin with. Wait! The victory is bittersweet, however, as Isaac discovers that the Nicole that had been helping him throughout the journey was nothing but a hallucination, with Nicole having committed suicide before the events of the game to escape the chaos on board. As his ship departs and he sits back to reflect on the horrors that he's just witnessed, this Nicole appears to him once more, but has returned as an aggressive apparition, lunging violently at Isaac as the screen cuts to black. Now, obviously, we know he survives into Dead Space 2 and 3, but still, at this moment in time, there was no greater loss than basically just going, we got you. We got you. You're an absolute mug. And by the way, jump scare. Number 2, Grand Theft Auto 4. So one of the many criticisms that has been leveled at GTA over the years was the fact that it seemed to be kind of like glamorizing the criminal lifestyle. And Rockstar took this message, they looked at it long and hard and said, okay, fine. We'll make a game that is so utterly gritty that surely no one will want to be a criminal ever again. And boy howdy, was this thing gritty. I'm speaking, of course, about Grand Theft Auto 4, or Grit Theft 4 Grit. What am I doing? Following recent immigrant Nico Bellic, who comes to America to escape his criminal past, the game plunges Nico deep into America's own illegal underworld as he attempts to make it in the new world and search for the man who betrayed his unit in a war 10 years prior. Joined by his bowling enthusiast and Na'vi-level irritant cousin Roman, after a cavalcade of crossed paths, betrayals and multicultural ne'er-do-wells, Nico gains closure and finds himself with a final choice. At the behest of Italian Don Jimmy, he must either help with an extremely lucrative heroin deal involving the treacherous Dmitry Raskolov, or pursue his new personal vendetta and kill the Russian mobster. Now, whichever choice the player makes, it's unfortunately the wrong one, because on the day of Roman's wedding, you either get a hitman sent by Dmitry or by the mob, and they mow down, well, admittedly, one of the choices is worse than the other. I mean, they kill Roman in one of them. Not saying I greatly miss him calling me up all the time. But the other side, you lose your girlfriend. That is sad. That is genuinely sad. Pick the one where she stays alive, is all I'm saying. Long story short, there is no sense of victory to be gained here, as this cyclical whirlwind of violence and revenge claims yet another bystander in its path. And number 1, the Warhammer Vermintide franchise. Oh, James, got you good here, didn't I, mate? You always think to yourself, oh, Jules is going to be responsible this week and only do 1 entry per franchise. Well, boo to you, my friend. I love Warhammer that much that I put on another entry from the franchise. It's my show. I can do what I want. I've gone mad with power.
Jules, if you're going to be like that, I'm off.
Anyway, let's get a bit meta-narrative in our return to the Warhammer universe, but considering the first game is subtitled End Times, this should actually really come as no surprise. Taking the horde shooter mechanic that was popularised by the Left 4 Dead games, Vermintide throws the player into a horrendous world overrun with Skaven, a monstrous rodent-like creatures fueled by blind hunger and dynamic AI designed to rush you and overwhelm you at every opportunity. Joined in the sequel by the disease and decay-worshipping Rotbloods, Vermintide is not short of a few bodies to hurl in the way of your blood-caked weaponry. But as I've said before, the first game carries with it the moniker of the End Times, and trust me, when it comes to the Warhammer Fantasy universe, this isn't a nice time to be alive in. All of the Chaos forces are coalescing on one spot. Sigmar has basically abandoned ship and just gone, peace out, everyone. I've got places to be. Keep worshipping me, though. I promise I'll be back in the age of Sigmar. But that was basically a hard reset on the entire timeline. So basically, every single hero, every person that you knew at this point in time, all of the glorious victories you've achieved actually mean nothing in the long run. Because, like I said before, Age of Sigmar is going to come along and wipe the slate clean. Ow, hit my desk. But I'm not recording that again. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 video games where everybody loses. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below, as well as your suggestions for next week's episode. If you want to chat to me further, you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming and Warhammer Battle Reports. I know I've pushed it very heavily this week, but trust me, you will come to love Warhammer as much as I do by the end of my tenure with WhatCulture. It will happen. You can bet your bottom dollar on it. Anyway, before I go, I just want to say one thing, and that is, even though today we focused a lot on situations that seem completely hopeless, and indeed some of them even were, you should never give up, my friend. Never give up trying. Always keep persevering through the hard times, because trust me, things will get better, and you can alleviate a lot of stress and strain on your lives by speaking to friends, family, and professionals in the support industry, because these people care about you, and they want you to do well, and I want nothing but the best for you, my friends. So go out there and utterly smash it by treating yourself with love and respect. As always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome. Never forget that. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.